Welcome to the latest in the NCTJ's Summer School series. I'm Joe O'Leary, Senior Researcher and Head of Special Projects at Full Fact. Full Fact is the UK's independent fact-checking charity. When anyone makes a factual claim in public life, be it a politician making a speech, a newspaper reporting a story, a campaigning group putting out a press release, or anyone on social media who starts something viral, we are there to check the facts. Fact-checking is journalism. Fact-checking is seeking out inaccurate or misleading or untrustworthy information, challenging it, hounding it out of circulation, and replacing it with good information. Good information empowers people. It equips people to make a decision, to deepen their understanding of an issue, or simply to help people work out who's trustworthy and who isn't. That's been my job for the past 9 years. Today's topic is about how you can become fact-checking journalists and why fact-checking is an essential skill for every journalist. The best fact-checkers excel in 3 qualities: curiosity, empathy, and humility. Do you have these qualities? And if you think you do you actually demonstrate them in practice? Let's put some of them to the test right now. Which line is longer? Your brain will, at first, be impulsive. The bottom line is longer. It's clearly longer. Did you stop there and decide that was the right answer? Of course you didn't. We all know what this is. It's an optical illusion. It's designed to make us think one thing when another thing is actually true. So actually, most of you will have reached a different conclusion. I don't trust my perception, I trust my experience. I've seen this before. The lines are in fact the same length. If that's the conclusion you reached, fair enough. Drawing on and applying your experience is an important skill in any kind of journalism. But it's not curiosity. The correct answer is, in fact, that the bottom line is longer. Curiosity does not mean seeing the familiar, deciding you've already spotted the trick question, folding your arms and resting on your experience. Curiosity is taking a ruler or something with a flat edge, putting it up to your screen and finding out for yourself which line is actually longer. Active checking of information. That's what fact-checking is all about. It took me a few seconds to take that familiar illusion and manipulate it to try and fool you. It takes people a few seconds to make up something false and share it online. And a lot of people know exactly how to manipulate you in order to make you think it's true. The best defense is curiosity. Curiosity starts with a question. Is that what it really looks like? Here's a great example from Twitter. Conspiracy theories often start with something that looks surprising. Hey, look at this clip from a film a few years ago. In the background, one of the pictures has an advert for Corona, and on another advert, what looks like a virus. Coronavirus? Wow. So it plays into a wider narrative that people buy into. There are claims circulating right now that coronavirus is something man-made, or something predicted many years ago, or something orchestrated many years ago and that's now being discovered. In this case, coronavirus was no accident, apparently. But is that what it really looks like? Let's see how this Twitter user pulled the thread further. Turns out what looked like a virus was spaghetti. An advert for spaghetti that, at a distance, looks a little bit like a virus. Now, this is a great example, but not all breadcrumb trails lead to something interesting. If you go into journalism, you'll run into dead ends all the time. In fact, in my experience, most of the time, people actually tell the truth. Or tell it to the best of their ability. When things go wrong, cock-up is way more common than conspiracy. But if you're not curious, you'll never discover anything. And you'll get fooled by everything. Now, empathy is about understanding your audience. In fact-checking, that means understanding how people make judgments about what is right and wrong, fair and unfair. Imagine 48% of the population live in rented accommodation. Imagine that's a true fact. Someone comes along and claims half of people live in rented accommodation. That's a very simple example. Are they right? Are they wrong? Are they about right? Are they right at a stretch? What conclusion do you as a journalist come to? I doubt all of you would come up with exactly the same conclusion. Fact-checking isn't always about declaring who is right and who is wrong. Sometimes more than one conclusion is reasonable. Last year, the Office for National Statistics said dementia and Alzheimer's is the leading cause of death in England and Wales. And that's true. Their figures show more people died of this than anything else, ahead of things like heart disease and lung cancer. But Cancer Research UK say that cancer is the leading cause of death. And that's true as well, because if you add up all the deaths from cancer, from all forms of cancer, including lung, bowel, breast, prostate, it kills more people than dementia and Alzheimer's does on its own, at least to the best of our knowledge of these causes of death. So you can't rock up and say that either the ONS or Cancer Research UK are wrong. They're saying contradictory things, but both of them have a justification for doing so. If you've presented your audience with all of these facts, who are you to tell them one way of adding things up is more or less valid than another? The same goes for measuring deaths related to coronavirus. Tens of thousands of people have tragically lost their lives, but we don't know exactly how many. COVID-19 may be mentioned on someone's death certificate, but we often don't know whether it was the direct cause of their death or something they had died with alongside a pre-existing condition. What does it even mean to say people died of one thing or another? If COVID-19 exacerbated something somebody already had, did it cause their death? What would a member of the public think about that? Your audience, potentially. The world is not full of true and false, as much as this would make journalism easier. And that means if you want to be a fact checker, you cannot be didactic. Our work is about presenting people with facts and context and to offer our judgment where things are clear-cut. It's not our job to be judge and jury on every ambiguity, to tell our readers what to think. So, what about humility? Throughout your life, you've probably been told to believe in yourself, to be confident, to have the courage of your convictions. I say no. If you want to do fact-checking well, the last thing you want is too much self-confidence. You need to be questioning and doubting yourself all the time. Because so much can go wrong. There's a phrase common to the medical world: first, do no harm. In fact checking, that would be first, don't be wrong. Being wrong keeps fact checkers awake at night. It strikes terror into us the moment we're about to click publish on an article. The thing is, our reputation is expressly built on getting it right and calling other people out for getting it wrong. So the potential for embarrassment is really high. And too many significant mistakes will just eat away at our credibility. And it ultimately gives people fewer reasons to trust us. Making mistakes is something that all of you will do. And I've made mistakes more times than I can remember. The way I learn from them is by spotting the patterns in my own thinking that lead me down the wrong path, and the warning signs that something fishy is going on. The first warning sign would read, "You are not an expert." Or at least you're very rarely an expert. As journalists, you'll often need to write about subjects you don't know much about. But just because you're not an expert doesn't mean you should shy away from getting stuck in. But you need to appreciate there will be some complexities that you don't know about, and others will. As fact checkers, we rely on experts from outside our organization. One of the most common questions we're being asked at the moment by readers is whether children can catch coronavirus and whether they can spread it to humans at the same likelihood that adults can spread it to each other. We answered that question, but we did it with the support of independent academics who agreed to review our work. A second warning sign would look like this: when stuff looks too bad to be true. Imagine you're checking something the Prime Minister has said and you can find absolutely no proof whatsoever. You're about to hit publish. What do? Well, I would stop. Consider the possibility that I'm wrong and that I haven't found the source yet. Now, in my experience of fact-checking UK politics, people almost never make stuff up completely. They still get things wrong, or give you one side of the story, but complete fabrication among frontline politicians is rare, at least in this country. That doesn't mean it can't happen, or that the same applies outside of politics. Go to Facebook, and our work on that platform shows people are very often willing to fabricate stories to get attention or to push an agenda. But remember to be careful. Asserting anyone is wrong or has made something up is a serious allegation to make in any debate, and you need to have a rock-solid case for doing so. Now, although this doesn't necessarily apply to all forms of journalism, I found that in fact-checking, I always assume the best in people first, until I can prove otherwise. And that often means assuming I'm wrong until I can prove I'm right. So, to any would-be journalist, I would say this: stay curious. Don't ever accept less than being able to check a source with your own eyes, and always be suspicious about anything that isn't completely transparent. Show empathy for your audience. Don't assume they see the world the same way you do. And remember that surprisingly few things can be neatly labelled true or false. And have humility. You're brilliant, but not infallible. If you demonstrate a patient, self-critical mindset when you find something you think is wrong, you'll get things right far more than you get things wrong, and you'll be more respected and more feared as a result. So, happy fact-checking.